You're out there every evening with the hose, every Saturday pulling weeds, every week spraying something, buying something, fixing something. Your garden demands constant attention and gives you constant problems. It's exhausting and expensive. Meanwhile, your grandparents didn't own a single bottle of fertilizer and never went hungry. They grew food that fed families through winter without spending weekends in battle mode. The difference isn't luck or land, it's design. Ancestral methods were built on observation and relationships, plant partnerships, living soil, self-regulation. What you're about to learn are 25 secrets that replace daily labor with one-time design decisions. You can stop paying the garden center and start paying attention to what actually works. Think about what modern gardening actually is. You plant one thing in a row, you leave the soil bare, you water every day because the roots stay shallow, you pull weeds every weekend because naked dirt invites competition. You spray pests because monocultures are a buffet with a neon sign. This is not gardening. This is warfare. You're fighting a battle you designed yourself. Meanwhile, your grandparents didn't garden this way. They observed. They noticed which plants thrived together and which ones failed. They saw that certain plants fed the soil while others depleted it. They understood that diversity prevented problems before they appeared. They weren't buying solutions, they were designing relationships. Here's the first principle. Polycultures beat monocultures every single time. A polyculture is multiple species growing in the same space. When you plant tomatoes beside basil beside marigolds, you're not decorating. You're building a system where each plant serves a function for the others. Trick 1. Marigolds with tomatoes. The fatal error most gardeners make is planting tomatoes alone and then wondering why pests find them instantly. Marigolds release a scent that masks the tomato smell pests use to locate their target. The pest flies over your bed because it can't find the host. No spray, no patrol. One design decision that works all season. Trick 2. Basil at the base of tomatoes. This is not about flavor, though that improves too. Basil covers bare soil. Living ground cover means zero exposed dirt, which means fewer weeds, better moisture retention, cooler root zones in summer. You're not weeding because there's no space for weed seeds to land and germinate. Trick 3. Nasturtiums as sacrificial troops. Plant them at bed edges. Aphids hit nasturtiums first and stay there. You've redirected the problem instead of fighting it. Meanwhile, your main crops grow untouched. This is strategy, not hope. But here's where it gets interesting. The Three Sisters system is the blueprint that teaches you everything else. Corn, beans, squash planted together. This is not folklore. This is functional design that fed civilizations for thousands of years. The corn grows tall and becomes a living trellis for beans to climb. The beans pull nitrogen from the air and fix it in soil nodules, feeding the corn and squash. The squash spreads wide leaves as living mulch, shading out weeds and holding moisture. One planting delivers 3 crops and eliminates 3 expenses. No trellis to buy, no fertilizer to spread, no mulch to purchase. You're designing partnerships. The corn needs nitrogen, the beans provide it. The beans need structure, the corn provides it. The squash needs open ground. The vertical growth of the others gives it room. Everything works because you placed compatible species in the same system. This is not complicated. This is observation converted into design. Trick 4. Clover and pathways between beds. The fatal error is leaving paths as bare dirt or buying wood chips every year. Plant white clover instead. It stays low, tolerates foot traffic, fixes nitrogen into surrounding soil, and never needs mowing if you keep it trimmed by walking. You've turned a maintenance zone into a soil-building asset. Trick 5. Chop and drop instead of pulling. When your bean plants finish producing, don't yank them out. Cut them at soil level. Leave the roots underground. Those roots are packed with nitrogen nodules. As they decompose, they release nitrogen directly where your next crop needs it. You just fertilized without opening a bag. Trick 6. Perennial herbs as permanent borders. Thyme, oregano, sage, plant them once and they produce forever. Zero replanting, zero maintenance after establishment. They provide culinary value and their flowers feed pollinators. You're installing infrastructure that works while you're not there. Here's what most people miss. Every trick you just learned eliminates a task permanently. No weeding paths, no buying fertilizer, no building trellises, no pest patrol. You designed the work out of the system before it could become a problem. Meanwhile, your grandparents understood this instinctively. They didn't have garden centers selling them solutions. They had decades of observation showing them which plants helped each other and which competed. They built soil while growing food. They captured water passively instead of hauling hoses daily. You're not behind. You're gardening backwards. The modern approach taught you intervention. The ancestral approach teaches design once and let biology handle maintenance. Now let's talk about fertility without spending $1 on amendments. You're buying bags of fertilizer every spring because modern gardening treats soil like an empty container you fill with purchased inputs. Meanwhile, your grandparents built soil fertility while growing food. The system fed itself. Trick 7. Chop and drop as your primary fertility system. When any plant finishes producing or grows too large, cut it at ground level and lay the green material directly on soil around other plants. Leaves, stems, spent flowers, all of it becomes nitrogen-rich mulch that breaks down exactly where you need it. You're composting in place. No bin, no turning, no hauling materials across the yard. Trick 8. Trench composting for direct root feeding. The fatal error is maintaining a compost pile in the corner while your beds stay hungry. Dig a shallow trench between rows, dump kitchen scraps directly in, cover with soil. Material breaks down underground, feeding roots immediately and building soil structure. Worms colonize the zone. Microbial activity explodes. You're feeding the system where food actually grows. Trick 9. Deep mulching with free materials. Apply 4 to 6 inches of leaves or straw over beds in fall. This layer suppresses all weeds, holds moisture through summer, moderates temperature swings, and breaks down into humus by spring. Your soil is richer in March than it was in October. You did nothing except place material on the surface once. Trick 10. Nitrogen-fixing cover crops as green manure. The fatal error is leaving beds empty during off-season. Plant clover, vetch, or field peas instead. Let them grow for weeks, then cut them down and turn them into soil before they set seed. You just added synthetic fertilizer's equivalent, but you grew it yourself for the cost of seed packets. Think about it. You're hauling bags of nitrogen from a store. Meanwhile, your grandparents planted beans and clover. You're moving compost from a bin to beds. They composted directly in the root zone. You're fighting to improve soil. They designed systems where soil improved itself. Now let's talk about water. You're out there every evening with a hose because modern gardens are designed to waste moisture. Shallow roots, bare soil, zero organic matter, it all creates dependency on daily irrigation. Trick 11. Swales for passive water capture. A swale is just a shallow ditch on contour that catches runoff and lets it soak in slowly instead of sheeting off your property. Plant on the raised berm on the downhill side. The swale feeds it passively every time rain falls. You're not watering, gravity is. Trick 12. Mulch as moisture storage. That 4 to 6 inch organic layer doesn't just feed soil. It holds water like a sponge. One deep watering lasts a week or more under mulch versus 1 day on bare ground. You've cut water use by 70% with one application of material you got for free. Trick 13. Deep watering strategy. The fatal error is watering every day for 5 minutes. That creates shallow roots that need constant moisture. Water once weekly for 30 minutes instead. Deep watering forces roots down where soil stays moist longer. You're training drought tolerance by changing your pattern. Trick 14. Passive rainwater capture from structures. Place barrels under downspouts. Redirect driveway runoff into planted areas. Every gallon you catch is a gallon you don't pay for and don't apply manually. Your infrastructure does the work. But here's the reality. Healthy soil holds water. Degraded soil sheds it. If you're watering daily, your soil structure is broken. You're treating symptoms instead of causes. Organic matter is the mechanism. Compost, mulch, cover crops, they all build soil structure that functions like a sponge. Clay drains better, sand holds more. The solution is identical. Add organic material and let soil biology create the structure. Think about it. You're paying for municipal water and spending time applying it because your soil can't hold moisture. Meanwhile, your grandparents built soil that stored rainfall for weeks. The difference is organic content percentage. Trick 15. Beneficial insect habitat through permanent plantings. The fatal error is clearing everything in fall. Leave some perennials standing. Plant native shrub hedgerows. Create undisturbed zones where predatory insects overwinter. Ladybugs, lacewings, parasitic wasps, they need shelter. Provide it, and they'll eliminate aphids, caterpillars, and beetles without you lifting a finger. Trick 16. Flowering plants as insect refuges. Dill, fennel, yarrow, alyssum, these produce tiny flowers that feed beneficial insects when your main crops aren't blooming. You're providing year-round nectar for your free pest control labor force. They stay in your garden instead of migrating away. But here's what most people miss. If you're spraying pesticides, you're killing the workers who labor for free. Ladybugs consume aphids. Lacewings eat thrips. Parasitic wasps inject eggs into caterpillars. These insects need nectar, pollen, and protected habitat. Give them those, and they'll manage pests without any intervention from you. Meanwhile, your grandparents didn't spray because they didn't need to. They designed habitat for beneficial predators and let biology regulate itself. Pest outbreaks only happened when ecosystems fell out of balance. The solution was never poison. It was more diversity. This is the shift you need to understand. You're not managing pests, you're managing habitat. Healthy soil grows healthy plants. Healthy plants resist pest damage. Here's where it gets interesting. Long-term resilience. Your grandparents didn't buy seeds every spring. They saved them. They didn't rebuild gardens from scratch annually. They planted perennials that produced for decades. They designed systems that strengthened over time instead of degrading. Trick 17. Save seeds from heirloom varieties. Start with easy crops: beans, tomatoes, lettuce, peppers. Let a few plants go to seed at season's end. Collect dried seeds, store them cool and dry. Next year, plant them. You just stopped renting your garden. You own it now. But here's what most people miss. Hybrid seeds don't breed true. Save seeds from a hybrid tomato, and the next generation reverts to parent lines, producing something completely different from what you planted. Heirlooms breed true. Seeds you save grow the identical plant year after year. Trick 18. Select for local adaptation. When you save seeds from your healthiest plants, you're selecting for traits that succeed in your specific soil and climate. Over 5 to 10 years, you develop a landrace variety that outperforms anything available commercially. Your seeds become more valuable every generation. Trick 19. Seed saving is independence. If garden centers close, if shipping stops, if seed companies fail, you're still producing food. Buying seeds annually is dependency. Saving seeds is ownership. This is not nostalgia. This is resilience. Think about it. Your grandparents saved seeds because it was free and reliable. You're buying seeds because modern gardening convinced you that saved seeds are inferior. They're not. They're superior when you select properly. Now let's talk about season extension without expensive infrastructure. You don't need a greenhouse. You need intelligent microclimate use and simple protection. Trick 20. Cold frames from salvaged materials. An old window laid over a wooden box creates a zone 10 to 15 degrees warmer than ambient air. Plant lettuce, spinach, greens inside in late winter. Harvest fresh food in March when everything outside is dormant. Cost? Nearly zero if you salvage materials. Trick 21. Row covers for frost protection. Lightweight fabric over hoops extends your season 4 to 6 weeks on both ends. It traps heat, blocks wind, prevents frost damage. You're growing food in November that would normally freeze in October. One fabric roll lasts 5 years. Trick 22. Microclimates near walls and stones. South-facing walls absorb daytime heat and radiate it at night. Plant heat lovers like tomatoes and peppers against masonry. Large stones placed in beds do the same. You're using thermal mass to create warmer zones without electricity or fuel. The key principle? Season extension is about capturing and holding warmth, not generating it. Passive systems, walls, stones, covers, frames, accomplish this for free once installed. Meanwhile, your grandparents grew food deeper into fall and earlier in spring because they understood microclimates. They observed where frost hit last and melted first. They used south-facing slopes and protected corners. They worked with physics instead of fighting it. This works in containers. This works on balconies. This works in small yards under HOA restrictions. You don't need acreage. You need plant relationships and intelligent space use. Trick 23. Vertical polycultures for tight spaces. Grow pole beans up trellises with lettuce planted at the base. Beans provide afternoon shade for lettuce in summer. Lettuce harvests before beans need ground space. You've doubled production in the same footprint. Trick 24. Container 3 Sisters. Plant corn in a large container's center, beans around edges, trailing squash cascading over sides. The same partnership that fed civilizations works in a patio pot. You're using identical ecological principles at different scale. Trick 25. Perennial vegetables that produce for years. Asparagus, rhubarb, walking onions, perennial kale. Plant once and harvest for a decade or longer. You're not replanting every spring. You're installing food-producing infrastructure requiring almost zero maintenance after establishment. This is the complete system. 25 tricks that replace products with design. You're not buying fertilizer because you're building soil in place. You're not watering daily because you've built soil structure and captured rainfall. You're not spraying pests because you've designed predator habitat. You're not buying seeds because you're saving them. You're not limited by space because you're stacking functions vertically and temporally. Think about it. 25 forgotten techniques. One underlying principle. Design relationships, not maintenance schedules. Modern gardening is built on intervention. Ancestral gardening is built on observation. Modern systems degrade over time and demand more inputs. Ancestral systems strengthen and require less. Meanwhile, your grandparents never went hungry because they understood what we forgot. Gardens are ecosystems, not projects. They're living relationships between soil, water, plants, and insects. When you design those relationships correctly, the system regulates itself. You're not a gardener fighting nature with products and daily labor. You're an ecosystem designer working with biology to create abundance. Here's your action plan. Start small. Pick one companion pair and observe results. Try chop and drop on one bed. Mulch one area heavily and compare it to bare soil. Save seeds from one easy crop. Every technique you add reduces future labor and spending permanently. Layer systems over seasons. You don't install everything simultaneously. You observe, experiment, expand what succeeds. Let results guide your next move. This is how your grandparents learned, through attention and iteration, not products and promises. This works in suburbs, this works in cities. This works in rentals where you can't modify property permanently. Container gardens follow identical principles as in-ground beds. Observation and relationships scale to any size. Here's the choice. Keep buying products to solve problems your garden design created. Keep spending weekends in maintenance mode. Keep fighting battles that never end. Or, design once and let the system handle itself. Meanwhile, your grandparents didn't have garden centers. They didn't have synthetic fertilizers. They didn't have pesticides. They had observation, relationships, and systems that built themselves over time. They grew abundant food and never went hungry, because they understood the difference between intervention and design. This is how you stop renting food security and start owning it. This is how you get weekends back. This is how you turn a maintenance treadmill into a self-regulating ecosystem that gives more than it takes. The work is in the design, not the daily labor.